mellow song, we should be live.
We are.
We're live?
Yes, sir.
Chris is live. Charlie's live.
Look at that face. That smile made me happy, and that's my own face.
Oh, gee, thanks. I thought you were complimenting me.
Oh,
All
no,
right.
no. It's please. Come on. Yeah.
So I'm sans glasses.
Yeah.
I am in no glasses, long hair, further irreverence mode.
It's
Have you
a
ever
good-
tried
it's
to
a good
put
way
in
live. It's COVID.
Have you ever tried to put
No.
in contact lenses?
Why? No, why would I have perfect eyesight.
I don't know. Long ago my mom got those contact lenses that change the color of your eyes.
Yeah. Oh,
And I
is
thought
it?
I thought it would be funny to put them in. I can't do it. I mean, I'm so good at
There's
so
that
many.
football player who does them blood red.
Really? I'm so good at so many mind over matters things, but my eyes can't do it. I can't do
What
it.
do you mean mind over matters?
Like being able to hold my breath until forever. Being able to, I can control my gag reflex really well. Just things like that. Body control.
I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah.
I can
Like
relax
putting
and
shit
get
in
my
your
heart. I can get my heart rate down probably 5 or 10 beats a minute if I kind of really, really meditate. There's people who can get it way down, but I cannot put in a contact lens. I bet I've tried a dozen times. My eyes just close.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting way to start a podcast.
Yeah, there we go. And we're not going to talk. It's not even anything to do with the show today, which is, I guess, how we always start it. But
Yeah. So Charlie sent me a text a couple days ago. Something really interesting that I think both of us found personally offensive, arguably controversial, and we decided to just get into the deep water, which we haven't done in a long time.
playing it safe. Yeah. we've been swimming in, I don't want to say the kiddie pool, but we've definitely been wearing floaties.
Yes, that's fair. So yeah, tee it up. You were going to read it?
Yeah. Yeah, I have the article up here. And just for the viewers at home, I tried to find something from, I guess, a more legitimate news site like CNN or Washington Post or anything like that, but this is a Fox News article. And I'm sure it's because none of those other entities chose to write an article about this. So the headline is, New York City Public School asks parents to, quote-unquote, reflect on their whiteness. And I don't know why the picture's a picture of Bernie Sanders, but so I'm just going to read this so that there's no ambiguity.
Well, because
It says, "As a
Fox...
city public...
Well, I'll just... You brought up Bernie. I'm sure Fox just took some pleasure in vilifying him.
So just put Bernie on there.
Throw Bernie. Throw him
That's
under the
right.
bus.
It's just like the Democratic Party. Yeah, there you go. Just like the DNC. Nice. All right, so it goes, a city public school principal is asking parents to reflect on their whiteness, passing out literature that extols white traitors who dismantle institutions. Education officials confirmed that to the Post on Tuesday. So the woke offensive at Eastside Community School in Manhattan features a ranking list titled The 8 White Identities, which ranges from white supremacist to white abolitionist.
Read them off.
The curriculum written by...
Oh,
here.
you're reading the article?
Comes
I'm
later.
sorry. Keep
Yeah,
going.
I'm literally just reading it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so the curriculum, which was written by Barner Hess, an associate professor of African American Studies at Northwestern University in Illinois, claims that there's a regime of whiteness and there are action-oriented white identities. People who identify with whiteness are one of these, Hess writes above the 8-point list. So he's claiming that if you identify as a white person, you fall into one of these 8 categories, and I'll read those for you now. They go from And by the way, the list is, imagine like an RPM. What do they call that? Another word for that. Tachometer? No. Like an RPM gauge in a car.
Okay.
Like you're redlining it. Anyway,
Okay.
so it goes. It's like red on the left side and green on the right side. Like
So
red is bad, green is good.
in ascending
half
or
circle.
descending order, I guess,
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
of
Yes.
objectionable white qualities, I guess is that a fair way to put it?
That's what he's saying. Objection. Yes. Yeah. So that's actually what I'm saying too. If these were the qualities that we're describing, I guess I would agree with that. But here's the list. So it starts in the red. All the way in the red is white supremacist. Then it goes to white voyeurism, white privilege, white benefit, white confessional, white critical, white traitor, and finally white abolitionist. Now, obviously, I'm a little confused by some of the words used here, but I'm sure this article explains
what's
it just a little
white
bit more.
traitor towards the bottom? Because if you get
White
more
traitor.
virtuous as you get to the bottom, white traitor doesn't sound like anything good to me. But anyway,
I'm pretty sure he's implying that you're like a traitor to your race or whatever. So white traitor is defined as actively refuses complicity, names what's going on, intention is to subvert white authority and tell the truth at whatever cost, need them to dismantle institutions. Now,
okay, I want to talk real quickly just about that one. So if you're a white
Yeah.
traitor, that suggests that if you want to tell the truth and you're a traitor, that says that, generally speaking, white people are
white people are lying.
bad. And if you're honest, that makes you a traitor because white people are bad. That's backing into it, but to me, there's no other way to interpret it. If being honest makes you a white traitor, then white people are evil fucking liars. God, this thing gets more
yeah, right,
offensive. It gets more offensive. I mean, I read it. I didn't read those definitions, and I'm sorry to interrupt.
Well, I was
but
going to say, I didn't know if you'd read those yet. Yeah.
No, I just read
And
the
some of them-
article. I didn't
some
know
of the
that they had
definitions- I
definitions.
can read them all, but
Yeah,
yeah,
let's
it
go through
shows
them all.
There's a bunch of good stuff
So
here.
wait, let's go through them and
Um,
talk about them one on one. Because
Okay, so we'll go in order of the list because I have something to
okay,
say about that one too. But let's start
Okay.
with white supremacists. So here's a list of the definitions, and there's a little preface before it. It says, there is a regime of whiteness and there are action-oriented white identities. People who identify with whiteness are one of these. It's about time we build an ethnography of whiteness since white people have been the ones writing about and governing others with a capital O. So from there it goes white supremacist, number one, defined as clearly marked society that preserves, names, and values white superiority.
okay. I mean, if you're a white supremacist, I don't think there's a lot of arguing that you're probably not a very good person. I don't really take issue with. I mean, I take issue with you fall in one of 8 categories. But
One of them being this, yeah.
in terms of the description of white supremacists, that's actually pretty generous, at least with
Yeah, I was
regard
going to
to
say it's probably worse than that in reality.
for sure.
It says values white superiority. No, it's you desire and it will accept nothing less. I think that's yeah.
Right.
So yeah, you're right. That's funny that they kind of softballed white supremacists. You feel like they would be hard on it.
Sure.
Clearly marked white society that preserves, names, and values white superiority.
Okay, again, noting my objection to a blanketed ideal that a whole bunch of fucking people fit into 8 categories and necessarily nothing else. Let's move on.
Okay, so from there we got that one. We got that one. That one's done. And by the way, that one is red on the gauge. So just in case you didn't know, white supremacist, red is bad. Red. That's how
Red
they're putting
bad,
this.
red bad, green
Yeah.
good.
Oh, white supremacism is bad. Damn. Okay, so number 2, white voyeurism. This is the next notch up. Wouldn't challenge a white supremacist. desires non-whiteness because it's interesting, pleasurable, seeks to control the consumption and appropriation of non-whiteness, fascination with culture. Examples are consuming black culture without the burden of blackness. Burden of blackness? Sorry. And that's with a capital B.
That is extremely interesting, if nothing else. White
Oh, for sure, yeah.
voyeur. So,
Yeah, voyeurism.
right, voyeurism. I'm, to the extent that I might acknowledge these, I don't even think that belongs in there. What the fuck is that?
To me, it sounds like they're talking about like Elvis. They're like Elvis probably was a little bit racist, and then he ended up stealing all. He took black music, made it his own, and they're like, hey, what the fuck?
That's an interesting take. Read it again, please.
Okay, so wouldn't challenge a white supremacist. Check.
Okay.
Desires, huh?
Okay, so you're bad, or well, I don't even know if you're bad. Maybe you're just a coward. And
This is the thing that I texted you. I said,
interesting statement.
people always
Yeah,
talk about.
wow. There's so many potential interpretations of this. Anyway, okay, so you won't challenge a white
They're really
supremacist.
short definitions. No, that's the thing. Here's my point on that before we go. But that's the thing where this is like in the country now. You have to be anti-racist. You can't just. It's not enough to be non-racist.
Thank
It's
you,
like
Ibram Kendi.
You're required
right?
to be. What was that?
Thank you, Ibram Kendi.
Who's that?
He's the guy who basically kind of, if he didn't invent that, he popularized it.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
He's the guy that I
interesting.
brought up 8-10 months ago, who I watched on a BBC interview. I told you it was kind of a one-story version BBC 60 Minutes, and I said there was this guy who has a degree and he kind of made up his own degree, but it's basically a version on a theme of African American studies. And it's when I said
this.
he said you're either anti-racist or racist, and my argument was, so if you're not an activist for women's rights, you're a misogynist. If you're not an activist for disabled people, you're whatever bad word that is, right? And so transitive property should apply, and he has chosen to selfishly trumpet it for black people, and those are my words in terms of it being selfish.
And I remember talking about that on the show. Which there isn't even a word for. What is it? Disableist? I don't even know what you.
Ableism.
Ableist. Yes, you're right.
Ableism.
Yeah, actually, I have heard that before. Yeah.
I heard it for the first time 2 weeks ago from Ms. D'Angelo. Anyway,
of course, there's a word for it. Yeah. And I was surprised that this wasn't from her. To be honest, when this list came out, because I'd never heard of this Barner Hess guy. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this is right up her alley.
I just want to throw something out. This guy's not a psychiatrist. He doesn't have a PhD in psychology. His PhD is in African American studies, right? Or
Associate Professor of African American Studies, Political Science, and Sociology. He has a PhD in government.
How is this guy an expert on white psychology, I guess?
This guy went to school in Essex, in fucking United Kingdom. He didn't even do it in America.
Well, whatever. There's good learning institutions there, so that is curious.
To be fair, it is a school. I'll give him that. They do teach things there. Okay, so
all right.
Before I go too far, let's get back to it. Okay, so
yeah, if I keep doing this, it's going to be
it's
going to be a 3-hour episode. Sorry.
We need to break this all down, and then there's one part of it, but I'll have to get to it later. Let me just get back to this here. So if you're also a white voyeur, you desire non-whiteness because you find it interesting, pleasurable, and you seek to control the consumption and appropriation of non-whiteness. or fascination with the culture. So, yeah, that's like, it's like he's, yeah, I don't know.
You seek to control the appropriation of non-whiteness. That's a complicated idea.
Because I don't know if he's considering like teenage kids who listen to rap music as like you're appropriating my culture, or if it's like the guy who's distributing the label, who's,
Right.
you know, if it's a white rapper, yeah. Um, that one's a weird one. I never, like,
It's
as much as. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's quite creative. That's for
It
sure.
is. Oh wait, let me check this guy's list of research interests. Oh, creativity and imagination is on there. Wow, that's amazing. Just kidding.
How coincidental. Keep going, I
look at
guess.
Okay, so I'll bite my tongue there. The next one's white privilege. This is interesting. I've heard this a lot. All right, the definition is may critique supremacy, but a deep investment in questions of fairness/equality under the normalization of whiteness and the white rule, sworn goal of diversity.
That's white privilege? That one's white privilege?
Yeah, that's white privilege. Sorry, that's
What
number
was
3.
the last sentence? Read the last sentence again, sorry.
This is one sentence. So they may critique supremacy. They have a deep investment in questions of fairness and equality under the normalization of whiteness and the white rule, sworn goal of diversity.
Okay, that is hugely surprising to me because it's not terribly critical, actually. It's almost giving the benefit of the doubt. And everything I've always associated with white privilege is you've got the world by the ass and you don't appreciate it, and you're kind of a just a kind of a
Product of the being white.
yeah, but almost like just a negative influence to society and humanity.
So
But
here's the
that
thing that
doesn't.
Go ahead.
That's it sounds not terribly critical. Do you agree?
I don't like that he starts it with a may and a but. It says they may critique supremacy, but they have a deep investment in questions of fairness and equality under the normalization of whiteness. So it's trying to say that although you may say that you're so in favor of this whole thing that we talk about, which is diversity, you're really just saying that because you don't want to lose power as a white person.
You know what? Yeah,
Being part
you're
of it.
right. When you pointed out that it says but, you have a deep investment in
Yeah.
whiteness. Okay, yeah. So you're not a white supremacist, but you're not far off.
It's like
kind
you're
of-
feigning you care about diversity or whatever.
And then what's the last sentence on that?
It just says that you have a sworn goal of diversity. That you're adhering to the white rule, which is swearing to the goal of diversity.
I guess I don't understand what he means by that. Do you think he means like you're a liar? Like you're presenting
so
yourself?
he's saying the white rule, I'm assuming. No, I'm sorry. It's sorry. Diversity is in quotes, so it's
Oh, so it's a backhanded.
diversity. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Jeez, I should have. I didn't do my little thing there.
So it's you're a liar. You're fake.
Yeah. Yeah, you're a liar, or you're virtue signaling or genuflecting. Yeah.
Yeah, you're fake. Okay.
not get spotted
Okay.
as a white
Yeah.
boy.
No surprise there.
But that's
I
totally
guess.
different from the colloquial or the, I guess, what I understood to be the definition of white privilege, which is what you said. Like, why the fuck is this guy who's claiming to be, educated on the topic totally changing the definition here? Is it because it's a cultural identity and not the phenomenon that is white privilege.
Well, he's the self-appointed expert, so I guess we got to listen to him. Okay, so and then that's third from worst, right? Third worst.
Third worst. Yeah, you're a liar. Yeah, and you don't really care.
Fucking liars.
All right, number 4, white benefit. You're sympathetic to a set of issues, but only privately. You won't speak or act in solidarity publicly through whiteness in public. That ends there. Some people of color are in this category as well.
And what's the title of that
to
one?
A set of issues. White benefit.
So you're not awful in thought, but you're a coward and you don't contribute to anything good. Right?
Oh, I see what it's saying. It's just poorly worded.
It's saying you've got some moral base, but you're not willing to speak up.
You're not actually going to go do anything about it because you don't want to lose your power. Yeah. And it says some people of color are in this category as well. Actually, it abbreviates people of color as POC, which is funny.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I will give some points for that because I think that's true. Kind of surprises me.
But these are the 8 white. This is supposed to be an ethnography of white people and whiteness, and it includes some people who aren't white. What the?
He
fuck?
did throw that in there. You're right. That's kind of odd, huh? Ethnography.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What the fuck is this?
Ethnography.
And this, just remember that point, folks, because I'll get to this at the end after you finish the list. But I have the one thing that really bugged me about this. I already told Chris, but okay. So that one's whatever. Those people, I'm sure they exist, but okay. Here, I'm actually seeing a trend, and let me just finish this. Number 5, white confessional. You have some exposure of whiteness. Some exposure of whiteness takes place, but as a way of being accountable to people of color after, and they seek validation from people of color.
So we're under the 50th percentile of bad, right?
Yeah, you're the first notch above median. Yeah, or just being in the middle.
Okay, read it again. Sorry.
Some exposure of whiteness takes place, but as a way of being accountable to people of color after. Seek validation from people of color.
So that sounds like a Robin DiAngelo thing right there. Right.
Right. So you're
a guilty white person.
Type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exposure of whiteness.
Right. So
Is
it
he
means
saying like you're letting yourself.
I think you're copping to having it good. That's what I think that means.
Why the term exposure? Yeah. That's funny. It's like a secret or whatever. There's a way of being accountable. So you only do it so that you're not getting called out, which is funny, which is what I read number 4 as, is you're only doing it because you don't want to be like shunned by your friends or whatever.
Well, the last part
knows that it's cool to be.
The last part of that one is definitely saying you're a virtue signaler, for sure, right?
Yeah, you're seeking validation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 6, white critical. Take on board critiques of whiteness and invest in exposing / marking the white regime. Refuses to be complicit with the regime. Whiteness speaking back to whiteness. You know, I'm so fucking lost because I don't know what whiteness is, and he didn't define it here.
Well, so there's mixed messages. So what he's saying is, you're not a bad white person, but you're speaking against all white people who are bad, right?
And
how can you not be part of the group you're necessarily a part of? Okay, this is so offensive.
And I'll just have to stop here. So the other 2, we'll read them, but just let me say my point. The first thing that I thought when I read this was this word identities. I'm sure some of you out there can think about this for your own race, whatever your skin color is. Like, I've never identified as a white person. Like, in my own mind, I was never like, Charlie oh yeah, the first thing that pops into my head, white person. Like I didn't put myself in that group because I never thought it was like a group to be a part of, or that it mattered, or that it was even a thing. It wasn't like I'm deciding to stick with my clan or like hang out with my, white buddies or whatever the fuck. And I don't like that it's assuming that everybody identifies as white
And
at all, not just one of these categories.
and you'll relate to this. So I so my dad's parents came here from Scotland. So my dad was first generation offspring. Just because of my grandpa and stories and my dad and his connection to Scotland and all that, I've always felt a connection myself and thought it was cool, right? And it's Scotland. And in terms, on the other side, I'm more of a mutt, my mom's side. So I've always thought that was neat. And if somebody said, in terms of, like ancestral identity and what you think is, what you would connect with and or to, and maybe, kind of be proud of. I got this neat picture of Scotland and the clans framed and on my wall. I would say Scotland.
Awesome.
Now, coincidentally, everybody from Scotland is like white. And in terms of like
Fairly
degrees of
oh,
white,
yeah, sorry, white.
Northern Scotland really, in terms of like tint, color of skin, like really
Tint of their
fucking white.
skin, yeah.
Never,
Highlanders.
ever, ever would I have said or thought that being white was some part of my connection with a Scottish heritage. Right? It's a place and a culture and a country and an identity, but not attached to white. And then on the other end of the mutt is Irish, Polish, Scandinavian, I forget what else. And those are all still very white in terms of, right, how far back it goes. But it's just coincidental, to your point. I never would have said, white wouldn't even be part of it. It wouldn't even be down on a list. It wouldn't make the list. So he's
Never,
making
ever,
a supposition.
once ever have I asked anybody.
Right, he's making a supposition that just, I think is completely incorrect. And it's almost like he's like, you know what? Admit to something. Just admit to it. Just fucking admit to it. And my question is like,
well, that's what it is. They sent this out and they're like, here are these 8 categories. Which one are you?
Right. And he's so, and even if there were some truth to that, which the whole thing's goofy, but to me, you're relegated. You're not more complicated than being a part of one of 8 definitions.
Poorly worded definitions. They're missing some words in there. No offense to him. Jeez.
I wouldn't say poorly worded. I would say highly abstract.
Sure. I'll let you say that for me. You're totally right about the heritage thing. I never once thought about that. And on that clan map that Chris was talking about that's in his billiards room, you can see his clan, and then if you go down a little ways on the map, it's like, oh, there's my name, there's our clan. So that's always cool. My dad used to show me that. But
yeah,
you're right. I totally, if someone said, whatever, and I usually do say Scottish and Italian. That's like who I identify with, even though I'm a product of both and therefore a mutt and more aligned with just American than anything. But it's still cool to be like, freedom. Those are my people. I think that's kind of cool. Like, I identify with that, but never do I ever associate that with white people. And mostly because people in America, the blue bloods, don't consider them white people. They're like totally like ethnics we're a totally different thing. It's like, what do we call people who are white but are Irish or whatever? It's like, oh, those are, that's what ethnic means, I'm pretty sure.
Well, if you go
Italians
back,
were like that.
yeah, Italians were ne'er-do-wells back in the day, as were Irish, right?
Back in the day, and they still are.
Sure, I guess, depending on who you talk to.
Yeah, that's a great point. Because I was asking my girlfriend that. I was saying, what I've asked her several times and she doesn't know. I'm like, what's your heritage? It's just a curious thing to me. I just think it's kind of interesting. I like knowing stuff like that. Not because I'm like, oh, you're German? Jeez, I'll never date someone who
Right.
came from the Third Reich. Oh, disgusting. No, it's because it's just kind of cool stuff.
Yeah,
never
but it
would
goes
I, in a million
back,
years,
like,
ask anybody what kind of white they
Germania,
are.
the fucking tribes, right? Remember the Germanic tribes that they fought in
Germanic,
Gladiator?
Yeah.
You know, a bunch of
Yeah, Jesus.
I don't know, like fucking animals.
Vikings. Yeah, fucking Vikings. Savages. They
Savages.
invented English. Yeah.
Savages. All right, so we got we have number 2 and number 1 left, correct?
Yeah, we do. So number 7 is white traitor, Chris's favorite, which we already went over. Actively refuses complicity. And here's what I was going to say. So take this out of context for a second. Just pretend that it's just something not related to race. Okay, actively refuses complicity, names what's going on, intention is to subvert white authority, and tell the truth at whatever cost, need them to dismantle institutions.
So once again, baked in there is white people are
Attacking
awful.
white.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's, and tell the truth at whatever cost. I'm like, that kind of fits my political belief system. I want to dismantle white whatever, which to me is just the government, right? Like, that's essentially what it is, if you want to call it that. I mean, it's not really, I don't really think of it like that, but I guess it works. Actively refuses complicity. Sure, I don't like being told what to do. Chris talked about that a little while ago. Names what's going on.
I'm
I do
sorry.
a podcast. I'm kidding. Tell the truth at whatever cost. Sure, need them to dismantle.
Charlie,
I want to burn the whole government down. I'm an anarchist.
Charlie called me a micromanager earlier today.
And
he hurt my feelings. It hurt me.
I didn't mean it. I was joking.
I'm
Remember that
just
time
having
I
fun,
was rearranging your speakers?
Oh, okay. I would call that being particular. And I didn't even give you anal.
That's fair.
But how do I get to an anal arrangement without giving you very specific directions?
The alcohol wipes was my favorite part of that whole thing at the very end of it. You were like, and we'll just wipe them off. Now they're perfect. I have them right here, actually.
I don't remember that.
It was fun.
Okay.
Anyway.
We digress. So back to
white traders. That kind of defines me as identifying as an anarchist. I want to burn everything down. I don't like the current power system. I think telling the truth is important.
With the exception of the convoluted circular logic that you belong to an awful group, that you're still a member of the awful group to which you deviate or whatever.
That I need to subvert. Now, and I was saying only when you take this definition out of context. I don't mean in this case I don't fall into that category because...
No. Yeah, I wasn't referring to you. I'm just saying that point again says, you know what, there's something virtuous about what you're doing, but you're still a member of a pretty awful group. Right?
Still a piece of shit.
Yeah.
That one's not even the highest one, which is so fucking funny to me.
Okay, and you're a traitor. You're a fucking traitor.
You're talking about an anti-racist. That's right there. Yeah. Yeah, thanks.
So what's number 1?
What's his name? Benedict Arnold? Okay, so number 8 is white abolitionist, which I thought slavery was over, but I guess abolitionist. Interesting choice of words. The definition is changing institutions, dismantling whiteness, and not allowing whiteness to reassert itself. So not only are you fighting in the revolution to overthrow whiteness, but you will fight to keep it down after you win the fight.
I yeah. So he didn't do a very good job of articulating what whiteness is. And I would imagine if he heard me say that, he'd probably say,
Well, obviously,
right,
everybody
like,
knows what whiteness is.
why would you even say that? You're so fucking white that you know. And I would say, I don't know. I have no idea. That's a brand new concept, or a relatively new concept. And to that, he'd probably say, no, it's not. You guys have been doing what you're doing since forever. And you're part of an awful, awful group. And to that, I would say, I'm highly offended.
Group.
And yeah, I'd say I'm offended, and you've relegated me to, at best, I belong to an awful group. And if I'm a member of, number 7 or 8, you're giving me some props for going against the grain. And, so Robin DiAngelo, Ibram Kendi, this guy, where are the studies or the interviews or even a whole bunch of fucking anecdotes, which I guess would maybe be a study, that says, I've interviewed 1,000 white people, and based on those interviews, here are answers to questions that substantiate 8 groups. I'm waiting for somebody to do that. Robin DiAngelo, I listened to her for another hour today, book on tape or whatever, audiobook. And it occurred to me that she is describing herself and just extrapolating how she feels about herself to the whole fucking world, or all of America. I
think,
concluded that
I've a case of her own.
I have half the book yet to go, but it just seems like she's the one who's fragile. She's the one who's guilty, and she's like, if this is how I feel, then everybody else must feel this way too. Right? Where's the data? Where are the studies? Where are your interviews? Who have you spoken with? There are all these anecdotes. Well, I was talking to my friend, and they bought a house in New Orleans, and it cost $25,000, and they said they needed to buy a gun, so they're racist. So, leaps and bounds and anecdotes. So, I'm curious what's behind. Are there any, parenthetical 1s, 2s that reference studies at the bottom of this?
No, there aren't. And I'm even on his page, like his page at Northwestern, and I don't see anything. I want to find like where this was originally posted, so that maybe there's more, because this is clearly. Actually, I don't know. It's not clearly.
Did we ever talk?
There's a title. What? Go ahead.
Keep going. Sorry.
It just is a title in red, The 8 White Identities. It's by Barner Hess, and then it ends after number 8, and it's just a PDF. And there's nothing else. So I think that's literally it, which is my point. I kept saying he's bad at definitions. Like, these are shitty. And you didn't define whiteness, a fucking word you use 30 times in this thing.
My recollection was that this was distributed through a company, but it was distributed through a school system.
It was distributed through a public school system in New York. Yeah.
That's even worse. Wow.
Yeah. And that was what set me off, is because having resisted indoctrination my whole life, because of luckily, or I skimmed, what is it, skated by the skin of my teeth, whatever it is. I fucking hate when they try to do this. The government and schools should have nothing to do with any of this shit. They should teach you how does grass grow, what 2 + 2 is, and how to pay your taxes, which they don't even do that. But this whole clearly political, product of the times thing, I don't get it. And the demographic, I told you, right? It's 55% African American, 15% white. And they're sending this home to like the less than 20%, less than 1 in 5 white kids in that school, being like, give this to your parents and find out what kind of a racist they are. Or if they're a racist. And another great, here's
every
a quote
single
from...
every single point, even the favorable ones say, you go against the shitty ass group you belong to.
And it's, if you are part of this, white identities thing, don't you then, like you're saying, you then belong to this group that you're trying to dismantle.
Traitor.
Yeah.
If you think
Even
the
though you're
right
dismantling,
thing,
you still...
if you think the right thing, if you approach any sort of virtuous thought, you're a traitor. I mean, that by definition says white people suck and are bad. Doesn't it? Am I off?
No, you're 100% correct.
Is that not total? If nothing else, highly implicit, if not totally explicit.
And this might be a bridge too far. I don't know if this is over the line. Anybody at home, I find that slightly offensive, even though I don't even identify as a white person. I don't think that's a group that I fit in. I wouldn't say people that I'm like that, but he's still talking about me, regardless. And I think that's shitty. Right? And his freaking school is distributing this stuff.
Yeah.
And here's the spokesman for the school. This is a quote from them. Our staff are now being targeted with vile, racist, anti-Semitic, and homophobic slurs, which to me says somebody called you someone said you're gay or something less, something a little bit more colorful than that.
Something more incendiary.
Over the phone because,
wait, I'm not even connecting the dots on that.
So the school distributed this pamphlet. I don't know what the hell it is, a packet.
Yeah.
The kids took it home, yada, yada. Parents are then calling in, being like, what the fuck did you give to my kid? This is bullshit. You're targeting me because I'm a white person and I find this offensive. Whatever you and I are saying right now. So they called the school, and this is what the spokesman is saying. They were fielding those calls, and parents were calling them homophobic slurs.
Homophobic slurs.
And
I don't even get that.
Racist and anti-Semitic.
I don't get homo. I question to believe homophobic and anti-Semitic. That's not even part of it. Where would that come from?
I question. Homophobic to me makes total sense. Some angry dad who had a few beers was like arguing with some guy on the phone and ended up calling him the
F word?
Word that used to mean bundle of sticks, whatever, that word. And it's like, sure, but that he doesn't mean it in a homophobic sense. It's just
I could see somebody calling up and saying, "I'm white and this is racist." I could absolutely see that. How was it? How do you get to anti-Semitic? Where's anti-Semitic?
I don't get that either. What the fuck do you say?
I don't get homophobic.
And they clearly know who all these parents are. If they're saying this shit, wouldn't they be doxing them? I feel like you're right. It reeks of BS. Maybe they had a black gay Jew answering phones.
And he said, "Hello, this is Frank,
Jonathan,
your gay Jewish receptionist," or
he said, "How can
I don't know.
I
don't get it.
About that pamphlet you sent home with his son, 8 years old. It's not only.
It's bizarre,
ridiculous,
man. It's bizarre.
And it's. I'll say this: it's embarrassing that this man has a PhD. Does education mean so little nowadays? And obviously, yes, if schools are doing shit like this.
Well, again, so how do people? I want to know where these 8 things came from. I think they came from this guy's head.
Yeah, he invented them. Yeah, just like you're saying that guy, whatever Kennedy, came up with his
Kendi, yeah.
own degree. Yeah, yeah. He was like, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing now. Yeah,
Right.
and you.
Yeah,
made
I
a
mean,
good
some of
point. I
these
don't know if you wanna
degrees,
repeat it.
you can invent your own degree,
I want
which
to
is
invent non-racial studies, studying things that have nothing to do with race.
well, yeah. Well,
the
something
forefront.
that's curious to me in terms of like women's studies and African American studies and other things that are highly specific. Wouldn't that be like a PhD in sociology with a concentration in African American studies? I mean, are to me, aren't these sociological pursuits?
I think that has to do with the way that colleges and universities work now. I think that they probably just have so many courses that it can take it as a major. I'm sure.
No, I understand that
Even though
part.
you're right, it's yeah.
But I mean, you don't get a degree in
Basket weaving.
no.
Like crafts.
I'm like trying to think of a branch of calculus. You don't get a degree in differential equations. You get a degree in mathematics, with a concentration in whatever.
Something nerdy.
Right, but this is going these. I call them, whatever. Maybe this is offensive. I call them grievance studies.
No,
People
that's
who
what,
get.
that's like a popularized term. Yeah.
Is it okay? Yeah, I didn't invent
Yeah,
it.
that's totally
But I read it
accurate.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. So these
And you
degrees
made
in
a
grievance
good-
studies are just, they're going, they don't do this. They just do this. They're just fucking.
Which is, by the way, that is what progressivism is as a political philosophy. You
Wait,
just wanna
enlighten me.
Constantly
Oh,
widen
okay.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas conservatives they're like, we're good at the base of the funnel, just stick around, and then progressives. I don't align with either of those, by the way. You made a good point yesterday, and I don't know if you want to repeat it, but you mentioned about how people who have these PhDs in African American studies and women's studies are making all these points about not their thing, right?
Well, yeah,
Like,
I said
wouldn't you
that.
be an expert
So if you have a degree,
know if
right?
you-
So if your pursuit has been African American studies, I would think by definition you've not studied white stuff, right? For lack of a better way to put it. So how is it that if you've been focused on African American studies or women's studies, might you be an expert on white people or men, respectively? To me, they're like mutually exclusive. That's why I'm saying, where are you referencing the studies? You're not a psychologist. You're not a psychiatrist. How is it, one, that you even purport to have knowledge on something that your degree suggests you haven't touched? And two, it's not even your field of study conceptually.
Yeah.
So somebody's an expert on me who hasn't even talked to me, or a random sample of somebody who might represent me. It's fucked up.
I'm a PhD in Russian pre-medieval history, and I decided to write a paper on alien.
The psychology of German soldiers when we were at war with you.
After
Right?
my history degree. Yeah, right. Some other fucking thing. Anything. Yeah. And I'm sure a shitload of those degrees, and I don't even know how many there are. I'm sure that a lot of those degrees are almost solely oriented, or courses that you need to take are like totally 100% oriented on white people and shit like that. White stuff, as you so eloquently put it.
Do you think so?
Without a doubt, because it's like they think.
Well,
And let me slow down there. I imagine that the thought process is that African American studies are inseparable from white stuff. Again, to use your
So
term.
you think if you have
Like you
a
can't learn about
PhD in African American studies, you've probably studied whiteness? You're thinking that? Well, that would
You're
poke holes
using
in
the
what
term
I just
studied pretty
said.
loosely because you're going off of their curriculum. I don't know if that counts studying. It's bullshit. But yes, I'm almost positive that you have.
You know, show me the data, right? Where are you getting this from? I really want to know.
It's
I agree
made
with
up.
you. If I had to guess, I'd guess that this guy just invented this stuff.
For sure.
It's not from compilation of a bunch of data that pointed to these 8, that honed in on. They seem to be, they trend towards these 8 things.
Here's how many people.
And
were
here it
actually
is,
polled.
right? We interviewed 2,500 people, and they all seem to funnel down into 8, very concise and reasonable categories.
I had 2,500 imaginary arguments with myself and came to the conclusion.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man.
If I was one of those parents, I would take my kid out of school. What are you doing for me? Or him. Or her. Or them these days. Nothing, and you're fucking actually doing the opposite. You're harming both of us. I don't even go to the fucking school. You're bringing me this nonsense into my house.
I'm kind of a proponent of the transitive property in terms of everything. I kind of think it's universal. And this may be offensive, but so if there's whiteness, then there's got to be blackness. And,
Well, I don't think they deny that.
Oh, really? Then there's
they actually use the term blackness.
tanness, and I don't know. I mean, how many colors are there?
Yeah, they use the term
Right.
in definition number 2, white voyeurism. It's actually the last word. Blackness with a capital B.
Oh, okay. Well,
And yeah.
never mind.
Yeah. No, and they definitely think that. Like that doesn't even. I don't even think that that's offensive. They talk about cultural appropriation and stuff like that. Like or he talks about cultural appropriation. That's got to be. Like you're stealing from blackness. I don't think that they would be offended by
Yeah,
it. at all.
you're right.
It's not an offensive term. But
I don't even know what to do with this. We're so fucking off the reservation.
I would try to appeal.
Wow, that
their
might be
better nature.
offensive. That might be an offensive thing I just said. I didn't even think about that.
Native American Indianness.
Yeah. Yeah.
An
An analogy that maybe should be
What?
the Seinfeld episode of that Indian
Where
cigar guy.
Jerry's dating Jerry's dating the Native American chick, and he keeps using all these terms that are like, did you get a reservation? And
Oh, yeah.
you're off the reservation. And
Was
yeah,
it?
and then the very end of that episode,
Wasn't that
Kramer
the
is
same
holding the
episode?
cigar Indian going, "Ooh."
Yeah.
It's the funniest thing ever. Yeah. That's great. Oh, and scalping tickets. Yeah, they say that too. And he's like, oh.
Right.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yes.
But
Oh, man.
damn, what was I gonna say? I think, whatever. The bottom line is this is ridiculous. Oh, here's what I was gonna say. If like what you're saying about blackness, whiteness, whatever colorness, I would try to appeal to their better nature, probably foolishly, somebody who writes stuff like this, and I would say, hey, like you think about yourself for a second and all black people. Like if I was gonna put you in a category with everybody, like that's like you're saying me, Bill Gates, and Joe Sixpack, who lives in a double wide, not saying that that's a bad thing, are the same person or fall into the same group. We're all 3 of us completely different people. And then there's the whole gender thing. That's a totally other thing too. There's 2 separate.
You don't even have to go that far. Just go Bill Gates and the 2 people who live either side of him, or Joe Sixpack and the 2 people who live on either side of him, or your neighborhood and the people who live on either side of you. Which, by the way,
Oh no, we're all the same.
if you go to
Joking.
So I'm in this house, that house, black family, that house, black family, that house, black family, that house, white family, that house, white family. I don't live in a,
Across the street from me, interracial family.
yeah. So, I mean, it's not like, if you go to my next door neighbors, you ain't going to everybody white.
Yeah. And people vote with their feet. If it was really a problem, you would have moved by now, right? I don't even know why I use the word problem. If it was even on your
my new
fucking
next door
mind.
neighbor,
Yeah.
I'm thrilled to have her. She's really cool.
Yeah, my across the street neighbor, the guy's name's Tony. It's funny, he's the same name as the old neighbor, which is like super convenient. And then his wife is black, and she's freaking delightful. They're like the nicest people ever. And what
Okay,
the
now
fuck?
be careful.
I don't get this.
If Robin
What?
DiAngelo were here, she would say, "Okay, you're just saying that because you're guilty, and you want to say that you like black people to absolve yourself
She would be right. Oh my god.
of your
She
white
read my fucking mind.
racist way."
Yeah, that's fucking offensive too. And I wanted you to send me that thing. Maybe we should talk about her more in depth next episode, but she's got to go down. Maybe
Well,
we
I
should
need to
just,
go
like,
through that
target
book.
her.
I need to go through that book because there's so much that's upside down in it. So I'm going to get through it, and then I'm going to go through it again and take notes. Because again, it's so anecdotal. It's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. And I don't believe some of what she says. It's just too fantastic. And convenient to
Yeah,
her
and-
narrative.
And you don't mean fantastic in terms of wow, that's amazing. You mean phantasmagoric in terms
And
of fantastic.
in terms of
mythical.
fantasy land. Yes.
Yeah, right. People, we're in 2021, Chris. People don't know that words can have multiple definitions. But our viewers do because you guys are smart. But yes, I agree with you. It is fantastical. It's fantasy.
Oh my. I am surprised neither of us got more torqued up. Because that
Well,
is just.
we already had the whole thing the other day.
I
on the
know,
phone.
but it's so
No.
offensive. Hey, pick one of these 8
Ridiculous.
things that either directly insults you or indirectly insults you. Pick one. And guess what? If you're not willing to, you're probably going to be branded racist.
Let's see.
A wise man once said, "Can't we all just get along?"
Oh, I saw a funny bumper sticker once that said, "Can't we all just get a bong?"
Get a what?
Let's see.
Get a bong?
Get a bong.
The same
Yeah.
thing, right?
Blaze up. I'm just kidding. Drugs are bad.
This is your brain.
I don't-
This is your brain on drugs. You've ever seen
Even
that
though
ad?
it's satire, what? Yeah.
Have you ever seen the? Yeah, that was played quite regularly when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
And all my high-end
Cancel the
friends
drug.
said, all that ad does is make me want to eat eggs.
Even though I'm picking this as a joke, it's satire. I still don't feel comfortable being like. I feel like even admitting to it slightly, someone would be like, take it out of context and be like, oh, that means that subconsciously he secretly finds it acceptable or whatever and fits into that category.
So what do you got there?
The one that I find most offensive is probably the.
Oh, you pulled it back up.
Probably number 4, white benefit. Sympathetic to a set of issues, but only privately, won't speak or act in solidarity publicly because benefiting through whiteness in public. I'm speaking against whiteness right now, you fucking idiots. I'm saying I don't belong to that group. You know, that's like what I would say. I find that offensive as hell. What about you? White trader? Is that your favorite?
Because of the title, if we go by title alone, White Trader is for sure the worst one. For sure. The definition of abolitionist, they're all offensive. Mostly because all of them say You belong to a fucked up group. You're still a member. So you're a white supremacist, and you're the most awful member, and we're clear on that. But if you're a traitor or an abolitionist, you're still a member, and all your compadres hate your fucking guts.
I want to see.
Every
I wanna
one of them
try to
say that
make
white people are pieces of shit.
Even if you're a white person who's fighting against white people by virtue of not being a piece of shit, it implies that everyone else who's white is a piece of shit. I want to see a Venn diagram of these. It would be the most like concentric circles. Have you seen those before they figured out heliocentricity? Yeah. That would be great. They're like, wow, we figured it out. Mars has 83 retrograde or whatever the fuck the concentric cycle. I don't know. Never mind. Astronomy was a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, can traitor and abolitionist do the circles intersect? I don't know.
Wait, hang on.
And then
Okay,
what's the
so
title of the intersection? Schizophrenic.
The intersection? Schizophrenia. It's just mind fuckedness. You know,
It's kind of schizophrenic. Insane.
I was gonna say delusion. Yeah, that's from
Delusional, sure.
Yeah.
You could have some fun with that, actually. Hey, we got a visitor.
Hard to do it. I'm trying to.
Hi, Lucy.
Like trying to visualize it in my head right now. It's hard to do it.
It is. Yeah. Are there overlaps? Hi, Lucy. Where are you going?
They all overlap. I'm saying the whiteness one, and then it's all these categories are around it as well.
Yeah, but are they
There's
right?
No,
But are they just independent circles inside the circle, or do they intersect? Or
I think number 4 and number 3 are pretty damn similar.
oh man, oh man, oh man. How are we doing on time?
Whatever.
Whatever.
About
Probably-
an hour. I wanted to talk about schools too, but it's probably for next week.
What about schools? Let's set the table for next
It was
week.
kind of piggybacking off of this. I'm just disgusted with the school system and won't want it changed, and I'm flabbergasted. which is a
Public
great word.
schools in America, or just general?
Yeah, in America. What the fuck? I don't care about any other shithole country. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Name that president.
Say that again.
No, I think we'll get taken off. I said, obviously, America. I don't care about any other shithole countries.
Nah,
And
that won't
by
get us
definition,
taken
if they're
off.
not America, they're a shithole country. Yeah, it's obviously America. Why the fuck I wouldn't pick it? I would care about anything else.
Yeah,
But
whatever.
yeah,
you know.
the system is atrocious.
Yeah.
Because shit
Thomas,
like this is allowed to happen, and I'm sure that guy kept his job. We didn't even finish
So, who should we have on? If he would be so kind as to be our guest, to
This
tell
guy?
everybody how to get it straight. Have you
Let's see,
listened to
his
Thomas
name.
Sowell on schools?
Yeah, is that the one where he talks with Milton Friedman? I usually am just.
He talks to a million people about it. He's totally in favor of vouchers and
Oh yeah. He's
and charter schools and school of choice.
School of
and-
choice, shit like that.
Yeah.
The money follows the kid, right? That's what matters. What the hell's this guy's name? I know I saw the principal's name. It doesn't matter. That's not what you were asking. Yeah, Thomas Sowell should be on there. And I was telling Chris 2 days ago now, I guess it was. It's sad that no one would fucking care about that guy anymore. And I found, at a freaking young age, by the way, like this is, maybe 11 or 12, his talks on that stuff, like super enlightening and valuable. And like, I used to listen to Milton Friedman's speeches like on YouTube when I would go to bed or in car. Like I freaking love that shit, and it's helps you understand. It helped me understand what government really is, which is just. I'm trying to be less of what you said. It helped me become who I am today, and I think it's horribly sad that like kids today talk about school systems couldn't give a shit. And I'm generalizing obviously, but like who the fuck would care? Some old economist is talking about why it matters where my parents' tax dollars go. I'm not paying taxes. I don't have kids, you know.
That all goes to starts in the home. There was a little
100%,
video.
and that's why I got
There was a
stuck
little
in, like,
video. I'll send you the link. It starts out with Denzel Washington. He's getting interviewed.
Yeah.
And he's like, it starts in the home. He's like, don't blame the system. System isn't throwing 7-year-olds in jail. By the time the system gets a hold of people, they're already ruined. Where are their fathers? Where are their fathers' fathers? It's a great little mishmash of, you know,
And
15 to 30
said,
second snippets.
The voice of God is in it too, Morgan Freeman.
Yeah. The voice of God.
Yeah.
But I thought,
And
I
I'm
loved
sure,
that. He said, don't tell me the system's gotten to him at 7. They're not throwing 7-year-olds in jail. And then he brings up this kid, Little Yummy.
wait.
Have you ever heard of Little Yummy?
No, you mean Lil Yummy? It's Lil, not Little. Chris.
Whatever. So you know the
You're
guy.
Modified. No, I've never heard of him. I'm joking.
Okay.
Go ahead.
He's an 11-year-old who shot and killed at least one person. He shot a bunch of people. One person died in a gang initiation he chose to take much, much further than it was supposed to go. And then a couple days later, he was shot and killed by a 14 and 16-year-old of the same gang who are in jail right now for his murder. A fucking 11-year-old. And before he committed those murders, at 11, he had already been like the juvie version of convicted of armed robbery, like a whole bunch of crimes. And they didn't know what to do with this kid because they're like, if we put him with other like 10-year-olds, he's gonna like he can't be incarcerated as an adult, and we can't put him with other kids because he's like he will destroy him, literally. It's
Yeah,
look it up, Little Yummy. It's just a disturbing story, but it's to Denzel Washington's point. At 11 years old, the guy took a 9mm and shot up a bunch of people. How do you blame the system for that?
And that goes into, we talked about systemic racism on the show, right? Like, what you'd call triggering views on that as well? It's because of systemic racism, Chris. Don't you know that?
I had a long conversation with a friend on that this afternoon. She sent me some links to some shows. I said to her, my big problem is, give me specifics. So, still hunting for them. We'll see.
You're like, still searching. It's like OJ. I'm still looking for the killer. Wait, and that's a great note to end on. You know what a great quote from OJ is that is totally relevant to our episode today? I'm not black, I'm OJ. Goddamn right. Which speaks volumes, by the way, if you think about it. It's a very...
That's a good thing to add on. I have no recollection of that, but there you go. All right, man.
Yeah, that's an awesome quote.
Cue music. When did he say that?
He said that while he was... I don't know. No idea. Press conference for some sports
after he got exonerated or whatever?
Oh, fuck no. This is definitely when he was... I'm not black, I'm OJ.
It's before the whole... God, what's her name? It's been so long. Goldman, right?
Oh, we didn't ask a question.
Ah,
Did Chris and I pick the right categories for ourselves in our white whatever identity? Cannot predict now.
I like that answer.
You even confused the fucking 8 ball.
Right.
The 8-ball doesn't even know what the fuck is going on. It's like, try to read that thing. It's like, what the hell is this?
The one omniscient thing in the two of ours banal existence.
You mispronounced 2 words in that. I'm sorry. I was going to let it go, but you mispronounced omniscient and then banal.
Is it banal?
Yeah, you said banal or banal.
Banal. Maybe I was
You
stuck
said
on anal.
omniscient. 2 words in one sentence. Two pretty big words. Well, at least in terms of it. Yeah.
Speaking above my pay grade.
There we go. Yeah. Typical Scotsman.
Yes. I'll just start speaking Gaelic.
All right.
All right, man.
This episode.
Music is cute.
Hey, thanks a lot, folks.
Yeah.
It's
All right,
music
man.
is going.
Say goodbye, Charlie. Peace. Say goodbye, Chris. Peace out.